Welcome, everybody. I'm Dave Tusek, the founder of Cloud Medical, where we're really devoted to the primary care renaissance. We're trying to revitalize and reimagine primary care in order to support all of our patients and really people everywhere on their path to health sovereignty, reclaiming your health freedom and empowering yourself along your health journey. And I'm really honored to be joined here today with my friend and Cloud member, Forest Linden. And we're going to dive fairly deeply into the topic of early detection for what Siddhartha Mukherjee called the emperor of maladies, which is cancer. You know, Forrest, you did something really beautiful not that long ago, a few weeks ago. You walked into my office and I was like, "Hey, brother, how are you? How can I help you?" And you said to me, "I don't really need anything. I'm just here to say thank you."
Yeah.
And that was such a poignant gesture. Just want to really express my gratitude for that. So let's talk about this station in life and coming in for kind of a general checkup.
Yep.
And I could talk about what that's like from a physician's perspective, obviously, but speak to that as a patient. What's it like for you?
Well, I mean, specifically where this went and how it started, I mean, there's a lot of things you could go in that direction, but relevant for today, I think when I was around 50, I'm 50, oh boy, 52. I think I'm 52 now. I lose count. When I kind of got close to 49 and 50 in our visits, I see you probably 3 or 4 times a year based on blood panels we're doing, or if I'm running into some kind of sickness and I don't know what it is, then I see you. But in those visits, you started to kind of throw the seeds like, you're 49, you should probably schedule a colonoscopy and just something to be aware of. And then yep, sure, got it, no problem. See you next time, Dave. And then months would go by and you drop it again next time I see you.
By the way, I'm dropping that earlier and earlier because there's cancer rates are happening earlier and earlier.
There's a reason for it.
Totally. It's no longer 50 these days, right? So we actually caught you later than I would like, but
and the reason that we caught it later than normal was because I went through probably 2 to 2.5 years of procrastination. And I remember this phrase at the end of you being very patient with me and like you keep putting on the table. The last thing that you said, which got to me, was, "Don't do it for yourself. Do it for Noah." Noah's my son.
And Barry.
And Barry. And that went in, that clicked. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm procrastinating because I don't want to deal with the prep. It's uncomfortable, the 24 hours leading up to it. So I kept putting it off, and then you started to suggest the virtual colonoscopy. I didn't even know what that was. Most people don't, I found out. And the sound of it is like, oh, okay, same prep, but then you don't have to go under anesthesia. I'm not a fan of anesthesia, so I was like, we're going to do that.
It's virtual. It's like VR.
It's virtual. It's like no big deal. And you didn't say anything other than that, which was smart, because if you had told me what was coming, I probably would have procrastinated a little longer.
Fair.
I scheduled it, went in there, had no idea what was coming. And the tech described what was about to happen. And I was like, well, hold on a second here.
Fast, God.
And I was joking. We were laughing. Like whenever I'm in the hospital, I just try. I like making people laugh, and it also helps calm me down. So we were joking about you. He's like, "Oh yeah, Dave loves sending people here, and he doesn't tell them what it's about." And then he's like, "I'm left to describe what's about to happen to people. I got the gown on, naked, and I'm on my side, stranger behind me." He's like, "So here's what's going to happen. You're going to feel a lot of lube in about 10 seconds, and it's going to be cold." And sure enough, there's a wet of lube, and then I don't know what the thing looks like, but it's some kind of plug, and it's connected to a hose, I imagine, because it fills you with is it carbon dioxide, the gas that goes in there? So they fill you with carbon dioxide. If you don't know where your colon is, you will find out on that day because it's going to be extremely uncomfortable. It is like the worst bloating and gas you have ever experienced for about 4 minutes.
Okay. So let's pause there.
Yeah.
Because my wife and I, a very romantic date, his and hers virtual colonoscopies.
Oh my God.
We went back to back. And what I discovered, and one of the reasons that I wanted to really unpack this is for people that are thinking about doing it in the future. Yes, they have to insufflate air into the colon. Why?
So they can take pictures.
So that they can open it up, because oftentimes the colon walls are collapsed when they're not full. And by definition, you've just done a full formal clean out.
Yeah, there's nothing in there.
And there's nothing in there. So we want to expand the walls so we can see what specifically, any tumors, polyps, lesions whatsoever.
Yep.
Hopefully nothing. And hopefully if it's not nothing, then it's a polyp. And what we found was, as that air is going in, you're laying on your side as you described, and rotating your hips and your knees back and forth actually allows that air to not get stuck. When the air gets stuck under pressure, it creates this tremendous sense of what you're describing, right? Which is the worst cramping ever. And so were you able to kind of shift it around and finally kind of move it?
It would have been really great if you told me this before I went in.
I was just happy that you said yes. That was a win for me.
No, it's good. I'm just joking around.
I think we probably ran out of time.
I'll remember the knee rocking thing. But yeah, it's very uncomfortable, and it's embarrassing. There's a stranger. You're naked. There's something going up into you in a place that you don't want strangers to see. So that's all very real, and I think that's part of why when I go in there, I just use humor, because it keeps it light, and I make it funny, and it's it's less embarrassing, and everybody's happier. So
you have a gown on, right? They're covering you with a sheet.
Yeah, and the guy was great. I mean, he was fantastic, and he does that all day long. And then I heard later that those techs are trained to, if they see you around town, to just ignore you, and so you're never going to see the guy again. I don't even know what he looks like, because I didn't really catch his face that well. So yeah, you're full of gas, and I think you hold your breath for 30 seconds or so on each picture, and then they take some pictures and they scan you with the MRI. It's an MRI scan, right?
So MRI, totally different. This is a CT based scan.
Right, okay.
And by virtue of that, it's very fast.
Yeah.
So the air thing is real, as you say. That's a few minutes long.
Yeah.
But the time in the scanner,
short.
Very, very brief.
I remember it
less
being
than 5 minutes.
Yeah, I remember it being the whole thing was done. I was in and out in like what was probably like 5 or 6 minutes, and we were done. So yes, that's the experience that I procrastinated about. And in retrospect, I shouldn't have procrastinated. And I'm overall everything turned out fine. Do you want the rest of the story now, or did you want to interject some stuff in there before I go on to the results? And
only to quickly say that when most people think of colonoscopies, it's like, well, I understand. I want to make sure that my colon, which is where the third leading cancer and third leading cancer death arises from, that one single organ.
Yeah.
I want to have a really great approach to ruling that out. And if there's something there, to catch it as early as possible. But with the virtual colonoscopy, you actually get a full abdominoscopy.
Right.
And so here we're not just looking at that single organ, we're looking at the entire abdomen and the pelvis. So all the organs in there: liver, kidneys, gallbladder, pancreas, spleen, adrenal glands, urinary bladder, small intestine, stomach, and in women, the pelvic organs, ovaries, tubes, uterus. So, and in contrast, we're going to talk a little bit about the other ways of doing colon screening, the various stool tests, and then the conventional colonoscopy, which is basically 8 feet of pipe up the rear end, looking through just that tube. In this case, we're visualizing all of those other organs, and the cost is $300 versus the cost of a regular colonoscopy, which is typically $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000, depending on where you go, if it's not a covered screen. So just wanted to kind of frame that out so that we orient ourselves. And you had the virtual, which is the $300 full abdomen scan with contrast that you drink that visualizes very, very precisely, again, the interior of that colon. So much so, and this is kind of mind blowing to me when I first understood the sort of data behind this, the ability for this to have a high level of sensitivity and specificity for what we're trying to find, which is pre-cancer colon polyps. And that is that virtual colonoscopies are almost as good. In fact, in some studies, it's suggested that they're better than conventional colonoscopies.
Even, just for the colon, but then there's the added bonus of what we found.
With all of the other organs. So just quickly to jump in there.
I mean, when I was walking over here, I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna sound like I'm some kind of affiliate for virtual colonoscopies because I'm now a big fan of them. That's not an enjoyable process, but I'm a fan of the larger area that it covers in terms of scanning, because just to jump to the bottom line, the virtual colonoscopy saved my life. It wasn't like I was about to die a month ago. It's that future, Forest, in 3-5 years, we found something from this virtual colonoscopy that I didn't know was there. You didn't know it. I have no symptoms.
It's totally silent.
And it would have shown up. Symptoms would have shown up, but by then, it would have spread. And so, before I confuse people with, getting to the end of the story without explaining, what the virtual scan showed was a growth on my appendix. It's called the acronym is a LAM. It's a low grade appendiceal mucinous neoplasm, which, appendix is about that big, and there was a growth inside of it, and so it was enlarged way past normal. And when I heard the results, met with the surgeon, he told me what was going on, and I had no idea that I was going in. This is the follow-up from the results. No idea that the C word was going to be mentioned having to do with my body. And that was, I was shocked, like literally walked out of there like, didn't know if that was what it was, but it was enlarged. And the recommendation was that the appendix has got to come out. I was like, okay, this is scary. I'm going to go talk to somebody else. Spoke to a second surgeon. He said very clearly, he flipped through the pages, and it's clear as day. He's like, you can go talk to 100 surgeons like me. We're all going to tell you the same thing. It's got to come out. That's the end of the story. So I'm like, fine, we'll schedule it.
And did they at the time, I don't actually know this part of the story, explain to you why? Did they give you the natural history of this particular lesion and what can happen?
No, both of them said, we don't know what it is. The only way to find out if there's cancer inside of your appendix is to take it out and we'll biopsy it. So they didn't know. They just said it's larger than normal. This is if this is what we think it is, it is a very rare form of cancer. It comes up in 1 to 2% of people in the population. So, so that was that. Scheduled the surgery. This was late January. There was no prep for the surgery. I just walked in. Everybody was like, wow, this is so strange to have an appendectomy scheduled like months out. It's very odd. Like, I'm like, yeah, whatever. So like, let's just get this done. And like, so, couldn't avoid the anesthesia. I don't like it, but I had to do the off switch. And, this is the second time and you go in, they say, we're just going to give you a little something. You're out and you feel like you wake up a minute later and it's done. And that's exactly what happened. And I had 3 new holes, and recovery went really fast. I was like, wow, this is what it feels like to be stabbed 3 times in the stomach. I mean, that's exactly what happened. But 7 days, I made it without any narcotics, just did Advil. Like that was it.
Mm-hmm.
I slept fine. It was a little uncomfortable, and every day got a little better. Eighth day, I was back on my bike riding slowly, but training back on the road bike. And surgeon was, he was like, "I'm super glad you got on the bike as fast as you did. We're now recommending exercise as soon as people feel comfortable doing it, within the 6-7 day range, just so you don't tear the holes." Um, Went great. Got my fitness back and was back in the game. So that's the logistics of what happened. The other part of it is like the excuse me, the mental and emotional part of it, of like, I didn't know if I had cancer in my body until after I woke up from the surgery and they told me.
Mm-hmm.
So there, it was on the table as a possibility. Do the surgery, take out a part of my body. I'm scared, the whole thing. Like, I don't like, just it's normal human stuff. I don't like being cut open. I don't like turning my consciousness off, and fear of death on the operating table. All that stuff was coming up for me. The years of Buddhist meditation and facing death and meditation helped a lot, because now you're facing it for real.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps, but the emotions still come up. And like anybody else, it's human. And went through it, and then it was such a strange thing to deal with mentally. It's like someone telling you after the fact that a bullet just missed your head by 1/2 inch, but it's fine because it's gone now.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go through the whole thing of like, what?
Yeah.
There was cancer in my body, and okay, first you have to accept that, but now it's like, oh, we got it out. That was the treatment.
Mm-hmm.
You're fine.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to go talk to any follow-up doctors like that for this particular low-grade version of cancer. You're good. We got it. It hadn't spread. It hadn't erupted because we caught it so soon. So these were, in terms of cancer cells, they were behaving themselves inside of the appendix. They had not. They were just in a little package. They were nicely organized. That's what low grade means. They're just there, but they're preparing to like spread and grow and rupture in the future and do whatever they do to get into the rest of the body, which would have happened in X number of years in the future. And I wouldn't have known about it until symptoms started showing up. But by then, you've got cancer cells spread throughout your abdomen and can lead to all kinds of other intensive treatments, chemotherapy, and who knows what could have happened if it would have gone to the later stages of cancer. So yeah, it's a mind trip. It's like you dodged a bullet, but it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Just chill out for a few days and start exercising again, and you're good. So that dealing with that whole thing,
Yeah.
and realizing that you were right in the face of death at some near future time in the next few years, and you caught it because you did this thing that you procrastinated about for 2.5 years. I'm speaking to, in my own case, and looking back, I wouldn't have waited.
Mm-hmm.
It is so incredibly worth it to deal with that day of uncomfortable prep where you're clearing everything out. It's super uncomfortable. Pro tip, do not schedule the colonoscopy for the afternoon. Get it the morning, because if you do the afternoon, you not only have to fast and clean out the day,
Another
you have
day.
to wait until the next, so it's like a full 24 hours, and it's tough. Anyway, so when I got through all of that, that's why I was like, I just gotta go thank you, like in person, because of the magnitude of what this meant for my whole life and my family. And like, that's why I'm a big fan of these virtual colonoscopies. And now this menu that you sent me, and I think you're gonna either today or in the next thing that you shoot here, is about the menu of options for scanning every year. And it's like, the dollar amounts on those don't matter to me at all. I mean, I'm not a wealthy person. I'm just looking at them and what I just went through, and I'm like, yeah, fine, $500 for this scan, $1,000 once every 3 years, whatever.
Yeah.
You want to know, because you can have this stuff in your. I just had it. I had no idea it was in there. 0 symptoms. I'm a quite healthy guy, and like I'm crazy athlete and like all that stuff. High performing athlete. And it's like, I didn't know. I had cancer in my body. Did not know. These scans make them visible, and you can get them out before they become a problem. So like,
No, it's
that's my sales pitch. So
it's amazing. You know, the finer point on the progression of these things when they turn into the next stage, which is mucinous adenocarcinoma, the 5-year survival rate is something like 50%,
Mhm.
you know, in most cases. So by the time they're detected, so that just puts it into perspective. If I'm lucky, you know,
Yeah.
it's a 50-50 shot of surviving 5 years.
Catching it after it ruptures. Yeah.
And so, you know, I feel so, so blessed to live in a time where we have tools
Yep.
that give us this level of power for you, for all of our cloud members, for my wife, my kids, my son. You know, I mean, it's just such an awesome time to be alive for this purpose.
Yeah.
And very few people know about it because the only thing we hear about healthcare when it comes to ads and media, like when you're watching TV, the things that show up about healthcare, they're all about therapeutics.
Yep.
They're all about, oh, this new drug's coming out to do this. And while that's great to have an armamentarium of drugs, I think where the real innovation that's game changing is happening now is in advanced diagnostics.
Yeah. Catching it before you need the drugs.
Before you need the drugs.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think, you know, what's fascinating to hear about your story, and I hear this time and time again, day in and day out, is the mental calculus that goes into saying, okay, I'm going to go do it now.
Yeah.
The mental calculus, right? So I find that people fall onto this gradient of personalities. And the first one, or the first poll, is, doctor, I want you to leave no stone unturned. I want to look under every rock to find any sign of any problem.
Yep.
And then you have this long thing. And on the other side, you have people that are like, why don't we let sleeping dogs lie? Why don't we just, you know, leave things be and not muck around too much? And so maybe speak to that a little bit, because you had to navigate that spectrum on your own. And, you know, you mentioned it was the resonance when you reminded yourself, hey, it's not just about me.
Yeah. It's do it for the people that I love and care about, because I want to be around for them, you know?
Yeah.
I think I was probably somewhere in the middle of the spectrum. Now I'm way over on just all the scans, please. All of it, all the blood panels. I want to know because I just did one and we found something and got it out before it became a problem. I'm sold.
Yeah.
So I'm way over here and I'm ready to do the rest of these scans of blood panels when I get time, you know, within the next year or so. We're going to pull the trigger on all of them. I was in the middle, and I think my procrastination was more around it's just time. It's like, you get the to-do list for business and helping clients and just running the family and all of it's difficult when you don't know how important it is, it's easy to put it off and say like, I don't do it in a few months when I can take a couple days to recover from this, you know, to prep and then do the scan and then just stuff yourself and then get back to normal after you do all that for the virtual colonoscopy. I will say that looking back on it, all of the reasons I had for not doing it were dumb, just ridiculous and stupid. This is me talking to previous me who was procrastinating. And I'm only saying that for those that are listening and considering doing this, just don't wait. Like 100%, do not wait. It's not worth it.
Totally.
So, there's a lot of reasons you can come up with to put it off. Just the colonoscopy itself.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. It sucks. The cleansing, the day of cleansing, it sucks. But it's a day, like, out of your life. Totally. And then you go and you do this embarrassing thing for 5 minutes and you're out. And no one knows about it.
Yeah.
unless you get invited on a podcast and you have to talk about it publicly. Thanks a lot, Dave. So
Well, you got to even have a fasting day, which is also good for you.
Right? I lost 4 pounds.
So when I think about this advanced diagnostics as being, the central kind of focus of what we want to not necessarily force everyone to do against their will, but really offer information and insight of why it's important to consider doing these things. They fall into two main baskets. One is optimization, which means in the here and now, I want to feel the best that I can. And here we're talking about things like hormones and microbiome testing, food sensitivities, heavy metal toxicities, and so on and so forth. And then once we've got you optimized so that you're feeling your best, we want to keep you around for. And that's the early detection and prevention.
Yeah.
I want to make sure nothing jumps out of the bushes, to your point, and hurts me in 3 years or 5 years down the line.
Yep.
And, for that, we have a very, very broad cadre of options, and we want to think through them very, very carefully on the basis of things like personal risk that comes down to things like family history, lifestyle risk factors, and increasingly, biomarkers or diagnostic tools that allow us to really begin to quantify and risk stratify people on the basis of genetics. And so it's in that category that we can now look at, all right, what are my odds or what are my chances of developing this particular condition? And so kind of walking through those things, one at a time. And we start with colon cancer, which is presumably what we were really looking for, right? But knowing that there's much more real estate in your body, we now have these newer tools that are much broader scans. So virtual colonoscopy is one. And now we can do full body MRIs, the Prenuvo scan and stuff like that. So tell me to your, like where you're at now, what you learned, how you're starting to think through those questions of what else do I need to do? I mean, and we can kind of just riff through that as to, likelihoods of moving the needle to do something very, very precise, which in my opinion, I think is the essence of what all of the people that are really going deep on this topic are pointing to, the Peter Attias of the world, the Hubermans of the world, the Mark Hymans of the world, who talk about health span and lifespan.
Yep.
And we can say that health span really is quality of life. It's well-being. It's thriving and flourishing for a good, long, sustained period of time. And then lifespan is the number of years that I have left.
Yep.
From my perspective, what I want to offer and to support and to catalyze and to really help people do is a gradual increase in optimization over time, a gradual increase in life, in health span, quality of life, and that sense of well-being, while avoiding a permanent, drastic reduction in your quality of life.
Yep.
Permanent, drastic reduction in quality of life. And so very quickly, I just want to point this out. The same thing can happen, relatively, the same thing can happen to you, and it could either be a really bad day or it could be a life-changing event that you never fully get back to your original baseline. For instance, you can have a heart attack and you call 911, you say, I'm having substernal chest pressure and pain radiating down my arm, and you go to the ER with the ambulance, you get a stent, you get some medications, and you go home and you kiss your family goodnight. Or You can have a heart attack where you have no symptoms whatsoever, and this is what happens 50% of the time. Heart attacks are the number one cause of death, and half the time when we die of a heart attack, our first symptom is death. So two vastly different outcomes, same problem.
Yep.
Another example, a 70-year-old person walking to a restaurant in the winter, slipping on ice. Person one, who is strong, supple, and has good stability, learns over a lifetime of daily simple practices that take maybe 5 or 10 or 15 minutes a day to fall like a cat. And maybe they break an arm and they're in a cast that comes off in 4 to 6 weeks. And the dent in their quality of life is very minor, almost negligible. Versus I shatter my pelvis and my hip and my lumbar spine, and I go to rehab, which is a glorified word for nursing home, and I don't ever leave. Right? And that happens every day. And the same thing we have in the world of people who have cancer. So if we catch things at stage 1 or even before stage 1, you have cancer, but that's a very, very different thing than catching it at stage 3 or 4.
Yeah.
When we wait for symptoms to arise, well, I have this unexplained weight loss of 15 pounds. Or, oh, I feel this lump. By then, it's not stage 1.
Yeah.
And your prognosis is very, very different. And the likelihood of this, here's my baseline health span, my quality of life, the likelihood of doing this and have a plummet in that quality that you never quite regain that baseline ever again is very, very high. So that's kind of the frame. For sure. And so
I think they both go together in my mind, where you could just go on the Peter Attia path and, the biohacking path and just be all into the optimization, which is great. But like, if you're not addressing the scanning to find things you don't know about before you have symptoms, all the optimization in the world is not going to increase your health span if you have a massive drop off on that cliff because of something catastrophic happening that degrades your quality of life, like you were talking about. So the way that I'm thinking about it now is like, yes, I'm still having a little bit of resistance. It's just normal of like, okay, wow, that's a lot of money. If you look at the whole menu, it's what? If you add it all up, it's probably under $2,500 a year to get all these scans. And that's if you do all of them. Some of them are for optimization, but I'm talking about the scanning where you're going to find stuff like we found in parts of your body where you can catch things before they turn into problems. That feels like a priority for me. And I have to like continually remind myself of like, yeah, I get it. Like you're not, the budget, the family budget's not really used to both of us, my wife and I, carving out, $2,000 each a year for this. But given what just happened, it's not a question anymore. It's just like, it's going to be like going to the dentist every 6 months to get your teeth cleaned. You just do it. So, and I'm just putting it out there just to be real. Like I still have resistance to it. And there's that tendency to procrastinate and put it off because I don't have symptoms right now. But that's the thing that would have gotten me in trouble is that small, tiny decision. It's like when I tore my knee up 3 years ago skiing. I tore my ACL and meniscus, had to have surgery. The thing that caused that accident to happen was a very tiny, stupid little decision I made on the hill, teaching my kid to ski in Taos. It was such a small little decision. I was like, oh, he's never seen what it looks like to go full speed down moguls. Because I used to race and like this, but I hadn't done moguls at full speed in like 20 years. Brain did not realize that. Spring skiing, slushy, did the thing. On the 8th turn, I fell, tore my knee up. Why? Because I made a tiny little decision of like, I should show him what it looks like. Dumb. This is stupid. I haven't done that in 20 years.
Totally.
I can still ski fine, but like it's those very small, minute decisions that don't feel like they're life-changing that can cause this problem.
This way or that way.
And so here's where another moment of like, I'm going to make a small decision of like, I'm fine.
Mhm.
I just did a thing and I had an appendectomy. I can go for a couple of years without scanning. That's where your brain can go, and you just fall into the habit. It's a very small, tiny decision that sort of like it's going to direct your life.
Totally.
And so I'm both saying this to remind myself to not do that, but also for anybody listening to this, if you're considering any of these scans, don't do what I did and procrastinate for 2.5 years.
Mhm.
Because look what happened. I had the thing in me and we got it in time. But if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't listened to you and done the virtual colonoscopy, because a lot of people, I think, go towards the regular colonoscopy because A, you're out, there's no embarrassment. B, insurance usually covers most of it. So you're saving $300 or $400.
Mhm.
Not worth it.
Mhm.
So looking at optimization and pre-scanning, the way that I'm seeing it now is like, I want to do the genetics just to see baseline of what I'm going to tend towards so we can pay attention to that. There's a number of blood panels. There's the full body scan. What's it called again? The
Prenuvo.
Prenuvo. Is it 1,000 or 2,000 scan?
A little over 2.
Yeah. So I got the numbers wrong. It's more like 3,000 a person a year. So that is, I want that in my mind is more important to do that first.
Yep.
To see what else is there, if anything,
Yep.
that needs to, and it sucks because you could go do these scans and the result might be you need surgery. And that's really hard to accept. And so there's more reason to procrastinate around that because you're going to be nervous of like, well, if I look, I might find something and then I have to deal with what comes.
Right.
So, and now you're at that moment of like, okay, what's really important to you? Do you want to be around for your friends and family?
Mm-hmm. Well, let's break this down very quick. We'll sort of do a rapid fire. Conventional cancer screening. So we have colon, we have breast cancer, usually with mammography. We have prostate cancer, usually with a digital rectal exam and a PSA. We have pap smears for women, and we have skin exams. Those are kind of the typical things. For colon cancer screening, as you mentioned, for a regular conventional colonoscopy where you're actually putting a camera inside the colon is a great test. But people have to understand it's just that one organ.
Yeah.
And there's other organs to consider. But one thing that I really want to push back on are the stool tests for colon cancer screening, like the Cologuard and the FIT test, which here's what they state. And I think it's an accurate statement. They say, we are as good at detecting colon cancer as colonoscopies. And that's actually a true statement, but I don't like it because I don't ever ideally want to tell someone, hey, you have colon cancer, because we now have tools that can catch precancer. What's precancer? Well, almost all, like 99% of colon cancers arise from polyps. So if you have a regular colonoscopy and they see a polyp, they snip it out.
Yep.
What just happened? You reset the clock to 0, right? So you've prevented cancer. This is really important to understand that a colonoscopy where they remove a precancerous polyp, which they do routinely if they see one, just prevented potentially that thing from growing into cancer. So you ask then, well, what does Cologuard and these stool tests do in terms of detecting polyps? Nothing. They're very, very poor at that. Again, very fascinating is virtual colonoscopies are as good at detecting those polyps. So you may find, oh, I did a virtual, now I have polyps. Well, now I have to go get a regular one to get them snipped out.
Yeah.
But that's still such a great thing to do.
Yeah.
Because again, you're identifying things before they become real problems.
And yes, and it's scanning things around. Like they found I have a kidney stone just sitting in there.
That's right.
Which is going to be a little painful when it decides to start moving, but it's not moving now. And then they found the growth of my appendix. And
that's right.
For other people, they might find other things in this whole zone that never would have found with a regular colonoscopy.
Kind of leads to the question, all right, when should I do virtual versus conventional? I make that decision on the basis of what's the likelihood of you having polyps? Because if the likelihood of you having polyps is super high, just go get a regular one. You're going to need them snipped out anyway. If the likelihood is low, my wife and I decided, for us, there's a good chance we don't have any polyps, and we didn't end up having any. We're glad we did that. We didn't need the regular one. But if you do the regular one, just keep in mind, you're looking at just that one organ, and that's where you really need to consider other scans. And the Prenuvo scan, head to toe, we've caught aneurysms, brain tumors. It scans the entire lung fields in the chest, all of the abdominal organs, and the slices are 4 millimeters thick, which is pretty damn good. High resolution, 4 millimeter slices throughout the whole thing. So then we have mammograms. Quick note on mammograms is they're great for women who have pendulous breasts that you can squish together in the mammography scanner really, really easily, but they're terrible. Mammograms are not good for visualizing early breast cancer in women who have dense breasts. And that's what, Barry, my wife, if you're in your 50s and 60s and even into your 70s and you're relatively athletic, relatively lean, mammography is not sufficient. You really need a breast MRI. And, you can do thermography, you can do ultrasounds, you can do mammograms, you can do MRIs. It's really important to select what's the best imaging study for me as a unique individual, given my body type and other risk factors.
Does the Nuvo scan do the same thing as some of those other scans for
the Prenuvo is not a dedicated breast MRI, but again, it certainly covers that area. So I think it's a great addition. I'm not saying never have a mammogram if you're young. It's still probably a good idea, but don't fully rely on it and get some of these additional tools. Similarly with the sort of corollary to breast cancer in women is prostate cancer in men. There's many overlaps and similarities. And here we have conventional tools, right? PSA and digital rectal exam. Well, the guy that invented the PSA, Richard Albin, a few years ago in the New York Times, he wrote an editorial. He says, guys, I regret ever inventing this test. It's done more harm than good. You should never use it. Effectively, that's what he was saying, right? And I also don't believe that you should never use it necessarily. But like with the mammogram, I'm like, just understand that this is a very, very flawed test. And now we have a much better tool. Also, imaging, right? So a prostate MRI or a Prenuvo MRI is a far, far better test than just a PSA alone. Pap smears still apply. Cervical cancer is 100% avoidable and preventable if women go in for pap smears every couple of years. And skin exams, especially when you have a lot of sun exposure. That's such an easy thing to do. Look for moles, do biopsies if you aren't sure what it is, and so on and so forth, which then leads us to the kind of new kids on the block, these cool new tools that include the Prenuvo for sure. I think there's three legs of the stool of early detection and screening for cancer: full body MRIs, thin slices, Prenuvo scans. Then identifying where to shine the flashlight. What are my specific cancer, risks? So did I or didn't I inherit any mutations in my DNA that increase my risk of colon cancer, pancreatic cancer, lung cancer?
And if that genetic test shows that you have proclivity or like your genetics might lead you towards this, we're going to go shine the flashlight over there and take a look.
Know where to shine the flashlight. People always tell me, why would I do cancer gene test when I can't change my genes? It's like, that's true, but at least now we know where to focus our attention. If you have, let's say, hypothetically, a gene that increases your risk of thyroid cancer 10x, it's like, what do you do? Where's the playbook on that? Well, there's no playbook, right? All this stuff is new. It's evolving in real time. What would I do? I'd be like, well, I'd probably do a thyroid ultrasound every 6 months. Why? It's $200. It takes 10 minutes. There's no radiation. And again, we're catching things
before they become a problem.
Blood stage before they become a problem. So the Onco-Genomics test, I think, is really, really important. And so people understand, here we're talking about a $300 investment. Once in your lifetime, to figure out all of the major cancer genes. There's about 40 of them. Did I inherit any of them? Yes or no? And you're done. From there on, you adjust on a personalized, individualized way how I'm going to use that information to then guide how often I do certain things, which things I do preferentially, and so forth. Number two, full body MRI. We do that once every 1 to 2 years after age 40 or 45, again, depending on risk. That costs a little over $2,000. And then the third leg of that stool is probably the most fascinating. Probably what I predict to be really the tech that just keeps getting better and better and better and changes the whole world and the game of early detection of cancer. And that's called the liquid biopsy.
Mm.
So liquid biopsy is a blood test, just like you're going in for a cholesterol check. And it's literally finding and detecting tiny amounts of circulating tumor DNA.
Mm.
Tumor DNA that's being shed from existing cancer cells. And it's tissue specific. So you can say, oh, this is coming from your liver. This is coming from...
That's crazy. You haven't told me about this yet. So this is all new.
Mm-hmm.
The liquid biopsy stuff is...
Yeah. And there are several companies that are doing liquid biopsies now. This is early days, right? The point that I really want to make is none of these tools are perfect. They're all flawed. That's why we want to sort of have multiple vantage points. You know, when we're scouts, we learn how to use map and compass to triangulate. So it's not just one landmark we're looking for when we're lost. We find 3 landmarks on the map and we draw lines and we're like, oh, so we're somewhere here. So triangulating between liquid biopsies, full body scans, and genetic testing, I think, in addition to not foregoing the conventional tools, keeping those going, but amplifying them with these new tools, I think is really the game changer technology. So early days on liquid biopsy, we're still only good enough to catch about 20% of stage 1 cancers. And people say, well, that's terrible. You're going to miss 4 out of 5. It's like, that's true, but we would never know about them if we hadn't done that. And again, liquid biopsy it's not the solution for everything. It's not like it's just this one single tool that I'm going to apply for my screening protocol. No, you need to look at this whole ecosystem of evolving advanced diagnostics and try to implement them based on your best assessment of risk. So,
yeah.
And you're kind of a poster child of that.
Unfortunately, but yes.
Fortunately, and
it's both. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's good. I mean, I'm grateful that this technology has gotten to where it got right at a time that it allowed me to catch this before it became a problem.
Yeah.
And I can't say with any confidence whatsoever that I'm not going to run into this again, but I'm sold on looking. There's a fear that we have of like not looking. And I think that's where you get on that side of the spectrum of like, just let it be. I'm fine. I don't have any symptoms. It's the fear of what you would find and what happens after that. And there's no question in my mind that I want to know. So that's why I'm excited about all these scans and the technology that's coming. And I'm sure with the liquid biopsy and anything that comes after that, they're going to be working in what I would call like a positive use of AI, because it's great at pattern recognition. So it's going to be we're going to have so much data coming from these tests where I think this is going, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that we can start to work in analysis of the data sets coming from scans like this that allows doctors to see patterns that would have taken a human a long time looking at data to find, where the early detection is going to keep getting better and better as this technology keeps progressing. And so I'm on it and it's worth it. And then, you get that done. And now it's like, okay, we got the genetic markers. We know where to shine the flashlight. We're doing these full body scans every year or 2. Got it. And if you're cool and there's no surgery needed and nothing is found, then you can go and look at the other stuff, which is more about optimization and increasing the health span so that your quality of life is better, because you've got the baseline taken care of and you know that there's, at least for now, there's no There's no boogeyman hiding somewhere in your body that you didn't know about. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And by the way, AI is already enhancing all of these tools.
yeah.
So it's already integrated into the works, so to speak. Same thing in cardiology. So as we sort of bring this to a close, maybe we end with where we started, which is your journey into Buddhism
Mm,
and this memento mori thing. Remember your mortality
yep.
that you alluded to at the beginning. You know, at the end of the day, we're all going to turn into dust. We are very blessed
Mm,
to have a few decades here on this
hmm
beautiful planet, this beautiful life, you know, getting to do things, getting to be alive, and getting to connect soul to soul
Yeah.
with people that we care about. And we know that that's a very, very finite thing. And so it's not like we're going to do this forever,
Mm,
but the real goal for me is to be 80 or 90, still climbing mountains,
yep. Still riding your bike.
still riding your bike, still making loves, still traveling and enjoying your life. And, you know, and in order to do that, we have to have, again, a thoughtful implementation of what is on offer here, what is being offered to us
Hmm
to select from thoughtfully with hopefully a little bit of guidance, so that the memento mori thing just happens a little further down the line.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I would say just to add to that, like it's hard in day-to-day life when you're focused on the to-do list, which is never ending. You get things crossed off for the family to-do list, and more gets added. Same thing with your work life, whether you have a job or you're running a business,
Yeah.
the to-do lists are never ending. You get focused on that, and it's constant. We've got a family, and there's always things to do, and it's hard to slow down, go inside, and make this decision based on this very real place of like, yeah, the end is coming. We don't know when. What I like to do, just as a reminder to myself while we're talking about this, but for anyone else who may not be so interested in doing death meditations, if that's not your cup of tea, when they happen to you outside of your control, perfect example is if you don't like flying and you ever happen to come into Denver, most of the times you land in Denver, it's really windy and the plane is dropping and shaking all over because when the jet stream comes over the mountains and it gets out to the Denver airport, it's super bumpy. I don't like flying, and I particularly don't like landing in Denver, but that's my home airport. So often when I come in for landing at Denver, I'm just it's like shaking all, and I'm literally like trying to hide the fact that I'm grabbing the armrests, and they, if you really pull on them, they pull up, but it gives you a moment of safety. And I pick a spot in the chair in front of me and I stare really hard at it just to ground me. That kind of situation will put death right in front of your face. And for a moment there, it's scary, like to think about dying by dropping out of the sky. And you're a little rattled depending on how bad the turbulence is. By the time you land, it could last for 30, 40 minutes. That moment is so beautiful, and it's scary when it's happening, but afterwards, you're scared, and it's because you just looked at death in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have moments like that, use them to your advantage because it puts it right in front of you, and you don't have to try because it's right there. You feel in that moment what really matters to you. And for most people, at least in my experience, what comes up is the people you love. It's time with the people you love. That's what matters most. And I've heard it from stories of people on their deathbeds. Books have been written about
The regrets
end
of
of
the
life
dying,
care.
all
Yeah.
of it. Yeah. Always
Yeah.
the
The
same.
regrets of the people that are in hospice care. It's mostly about time with people you love, friends and family. That's what matters most. We cannot replace this time that is escaping away from us through our hands. So when we have moments, opportunities like that to just, unintentionally stare death in the face, you find out what matters real quick. Whatever it is to you, use that as motivation to make the decision to get these scans. Yes, some of them are pricey and they're uncomfortable and they're embarrassing and the prep suck for some of them. But if you can deeply connect with what you came to, yes, the why of like what scared you when you faced death, whether it was like a near car crash or a bumpy landing in an airport that scared the crap out of you for real. And it's not, because at that point, it's not an idea anymore. You're not just like, oh yeah, it's kind of scary, we're all going to die. No, this is like lived. It's like in your bones. You get it.
That's the somatic kind of.
Yeah, you feel it.
That,
That's like when it's right after the surgery, and I was like, oh, you had cancer, but it's gone now. Excuse me, what? You know, and I was like, I was feeling it in my body, and you get, this is why it's important, right? It's time with my son and my wife and my close friends and my other family members. That's why I did this. That's why I did the uncomfortable virtual colonoscopy, and like, it's so worth it. So
what an amazing reminder, man.
yeah.
You know, it's been such an honor, like all of these years, taking care of you and Noah and Barry. And it's a real privilege, honestly. And
we feel the same.
Yeah. And I think that final reflection is so profound, and it really is the North Star, man.
Yeah.
It's the compass. And so I just want to thank you for sharing from your heart, sharing that very, very, very intimately personal story.
Too intimate. I'm only doing this because I like you a lot,
right.
bro. No, I'm kidding.
Well, and it's really for the benefit of all of those other people that are considering, hey, what are my options? What should I do? And is this really worth my while?
Yeah. I mean, I joke, but that's the reason why I agreed to this. And that's why I actually offered it, because I'm like, yeah, I'm going to talk about this publicly, and it's not a fun story to tell.
Yeah.
Like, but if even just a few people hear this and decide to schedule even just one of these things, these early detection scans, like the virtual colonoscopy, and they either get cleared or they find something and get it removed for it's a problem, then this hour is 100% worth it. And whatever embarrassment I might go through from someone around town bumping into me and saying, hey, I saw that podcast. Like, good job. Like, you know, embarrassment, whatever. But like, I don't care. Like, again, it's not about me. It's about the people I'll be around for, and it's about anybody listening to this.
Yeah. Well, may you and your beautiful family thrive for many, many years to come. And thank you again so much for sharing this time with me and with our listeners, and just being such a cool dude, man. I really honor you.
Thank you for everything. As I said when I came in, I have more gratitude than I have words to express, and it's going to remain that way. And every time I try to approach this and try to thank you, I'm going to stumble over my words, because there's so much emotion behind it, and there's so much gratitude for you and where you steered me and the technology that's here. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
All right, man.
Really appreciate it. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you got as much out of this as I did, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, man.
Thank you.